Hey, what is up? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'll be going over the 2.1.1 update in Valgrave and showing you what has changed and what was really patched since the last update. To start this off, we're going to be going over how they reduced the laser beam and wall meta, which, if you didn't see my last video, is what I went over. Now for the wall, although you can launch yourself, you cannot launch yourself nearly as high, so I can conclude that the wall meta is now dead. For how the laser was nerfed, its cooldown, or how long it took to charge up, has increased, its damage has decreased by 5, and its distance really got nerfed a lot, so you won't be able to hit them from nearly as far anymore. But now with all the nerfs considered, is the laser still usable, or is it good? Now, when I'm looking at the laser, I think it's still usable for anti-projectile bubbles, shooting through trees or rocks, fighting people when they're really high in the sky and you don't have a choice but to use hit scan, which a laser is hit scan. Now, I'd rather take something else over it. I might pick up the laser once in a while, but I prefer things like arrow volley or char or frost arrow, and especially with the buffs that they've received, I'd rather take that instead of the laser. This is one of the situations where laser would actually be useful. My target ran away, hid behind the vines, and I was able to laser him through it. And that's happened a couple times since the update where I've been able to kill someone through something with laser, where if I did not have the laser, they would not have died. If you look at the HP of my opponent, she probably only has like 5 HP, maybe a little less. And if this didn't have the nerf and damage, they would have gotten 1 shot. But instead, I had to do 2 shots. Obviously, if you're good with the laser, stick with it. You can shoot people through walls when they normally can't hit you. And if you use that in situations where you can, then you'll definitely be at an advantage. In this situation, the laser can be really useful. As you can see, they put up a bubble right there and I was able to shoot through it. With any projectile, I would not have been able to. Now we're going to move on to the Boomerang. The Boomerang had its hitbox increased as much as the shard is, and you can see here, it hits pretty consistently, a lot more consistently than it was before, so it's actually useful now. You can use it to kill people up close, or even a little bit of a distance, but it doesn't go far, as you can probably see right here. The Boomerang does 25 damage per hit, and can also bounce off walls and will come back to you. Now we are on to the homing projectiles. These were always decent, but now that the hitbox is even larger, it makes it so they'll hit more consistently. Now they are still pretty easy to dodge. They're not meant to be shot from a really far distance and to hit somebody, but from close distance, and if stopped with like earth or slowed down with a frost, nova, or arrow, they will actually do a lot of damage. Based on my own experience with the homing missiles, I'd say that around 25% of the missiles are hitting more consistently. And saying every one of the projectiles has a good amount of damage, it's actually useful now. I'm going to use it more consistently, and I'm excited to see what combos I can use with it. Now we're going to move on to the bigger buffs in this update, which includes ground wave, frost arrow, and obviously the arrow volley. So first off, the ground wave, it's really been buffed. Before, they could be a little bit above the ground and ground wave would have done nothing to them, wouldn't have hit them, wouldn't have stopped them, anything like that. Now they actually have to be practically at their climax of their double jump in order to dodge the ground wave. So it's a lot easier to hit. It does the same amount of damage, obviously none of that was changed, but its biggest factor is it stops them in place for a couple of seconds, I think like a second or two, and you can just unleash on them while they're stuck. Arrow volley was changed so that its speed is increased. It took me a little getting used to because the increase was not extremely massive, but it has definitely helped. When I say it definitely helped, like I am able to hit a lot more shots because they're in quicker succession, and overall does more damage per second because it's quicker in shooting. My personal favorite change was Frost Arrow. Frost Arrow before had the same speed as Cosmic Shard, but the hitbox was a lot smaller. Now the only difference between the Cosmic Shard and the Frost Arrow is the damage, its after effects, and its cooldown. So I can tell you, I'm hitting a lot more of my Frost Arrow shots since this update has come out. Before, I was using Cosmic Shard, and then when I switched to the Frost Arrow, it was just a little different, but enough where it really made a difference, and I wasn't hitting as consistently as I wanted. But because of this change, I can tell you a lot more people be going Frost Arrow, Arrow Volley, all that stuff, and it's really going to become mostly, like, these are all aim-based. Obviously, with melee builds, you don't have to have nearly as much aim with it. You just have to be good with combos, positioning, all that. But with Arrow Volley and all these, it's going to be really based on aim. So if you're good at aiming, this is going to be a really nice update for you. I am planning to make another video based on this update with a revamped build, which I think will be the best build currently in the game. And what this would include is the ground wave, because it stops people, the Frost Arrow, and the Arrow Volley. And you can rearrange this a little bit, but I have to tell you, this combo has been insanely good since the update. And the reason I say that is because if you hit someone with a ground wave, they'll be stopped. Then you can hit them with an arrow, they'll be slowed. And then you can hit them with another ground wave, they'll be stopped. And in between the process of, like, the cooldowns of ground wave and Frost Arrow, you'll have Arrow Volley, which will do a lot of damage once they're either stopped or slowed down. Also, with ground wave, it's gonna stop melee builds a lot more, because melee is usually close on the ground. They either blink to you or they hook you over, and it's all ground based. While, like, spells, you usually cast in the air from far away. With ground wave, you just cast it when they're running at you, and they're gonna have to be a jump and a half or 2 jumps up in the air, and you'll be able to stop them and do your thing on them, I guess. Currently, this game is really based on movement. It's a fast-paced game, you have lots of movement abilities, and I believe that's why they added Frost Nova onto the update before this, because it's an ability, just like the Frost Arrow, that's able to stop people from moving so quick. So now that the Frost Arrow has a bigger hitbox, it's really going to limit the amount of movement that people have, and it's going to make them use the movement in order to get away, and because they're using the movement, you'll be able to catch up, and they really just can't keep running from you the entire time. If you haven't already noticed, ground wave goes over any object in the way, and it goes a really far distance. So for, like, when he keeps putting vines around me, I'm just throwing my ground wave over, and sometimes it hits him and stops him from going any further. And in this case, he was just running away from me. So if I hit a single Frost Arrow here, he would have been limited to the movement speed. I would have been able to catch up a lot quicker. Because Arrow Volley shoots a bunch of them, I was able to hit him with one of it, and he ended up dying. This is going to be a good example of how to 2v1 with what I'm currently using, or just with the new abilities in general. So I'm facing Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump. They kept dueling, and I kept having to fight them. But pretty much, you slow them, you either stun them with the ground wave, or you hit them with the Frost Arrow. And then, either one, if you hit him with the Frost Arrow, you hit him with a ground wave. If you hit him with ground wave, you hit him with a Frost Arrow. And in between, you're hitting with the Arrow Volley. So it's just doing a lot of damage. It's stopping them from going anywhere. It's slowing them down. And pretty much, it just causes them to have to initiate. And they won't be able to run away or get to a distance where they can throw spells at you or get too close to you where they'll be able to melee. So it's just the perfect combo. All these new abilities have really made the game a lot more balanced. Arrow Volley is now good because it's quicker. Ground Wave is now useful because it can hit people that jump over like an inch. And then obviously Frost Arrow has the same hitbox as Shard, so you can hit more consistently. Also, another reason this balances out the game is now Projectile Bubble actually has a lot more uses. Before, everyone was using laser, so Projectile Bubble wasn't a huge thing. And just like a lot of other abilities, because the wall laser meta is now over and it's no longer in use at all, a lot of abilities are going to come out of nowhere. And what I mean by this is, in a lot of cases, things like the bomb or the water orb, they're not useful because they're so slow or they don't do a lot of damage. Now with Ground Wave and Frost Arrow and being as good as they are now, you'll be able to slow them down, stop them. You can use the Water Orb, which does a lot of damage, but it's slow. You can use the Bomb, which if done right, can do a lot of damage, but it's really hard to hit. So because there's these two abilities now that limits the amount of movement your opponent has, they'll actually come into use. Well, that's a good sum up of what this update includes and how it's balancing out the game. I'll be doing a lot more of these in the future. Every update that comes out, I'm hoping to get a video out the first day. If not the first day, the second day, early morning. But obviously this was not a huge update. It's balancing stuff, it's going to make the game better. Devs are continuing to add more stuff and making the game a better place, both off of what they feel is right and what the community is suggesting to them. And I know there are going to be a lot of other updates that come out that are going to be much bigger than this. But I'm just glad that this game is going in the right direction. And if you haven't already checked it out, guys, please check it out. Valgrave Immortal Planes, it's a great game. I've been playing with a lot of people. We've all enjoyed it. I haven't heard a single person really say they don't like this game. Well, anyway, that's all I have for this video. If you enjoyed, then please hit the like button. Sub if you haven't already. Sub and turn notification bell on if you want to see more of these videos in the future. I'm going to keep up with this Valgrave stuff and hopefully some other games as well, guys. And I'll see you next time. Peace.